Hey everyone, it's Jenna again. Since I've kind of entitled my video blogging as Real Talk, that's what I plan to do. And something came up for me recently around a topic that I was already thinking of talking about, but I think it's extra important, and that is self-advocacy. I have to admit that for some time in my childhood, the idea of advocating for myself, talking to adults, making phone calls, asking for what I needed was absolutely terrifying, and I think that's why most kids have their parents help them with that, or have somebody else that can at least advocate on their behalf sometimes. But now I'm an adult, and there's so many ways in which I have to be my own advocate. This happens in a number of ways. I have to make my own doctor's appointments. I schedule my own classes and figure out when I want to do things. I have to do my own laundry. I have to ask my supervisor if I want to switch duty dates with someone. You know, there's little things where, like, as an adult, you're expected to ask for what you need or say what you need. But it goes a little deeper than that too. Because how many times have you been in a situation where you're like, I really want this thing, or I would like this to look differently, okay, I'm gonna say it. You know, I don't really have to say anything. I think I'll just wait it out and see if it gets better. That's not the way it works. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I just honestly mean that when we feel like we need to say something, of course we want to be conscious like I talked about in the last video, but we have to say it. Sometimes it's really difficult to tell someone, hey, you didn't do your job right, and it affected me and made me feel disrespected. That's a really uncomfortable conversation to have, but it's still worth having. The classic example, the really hard one, is this relationship isn't working for me. I don't feel like we should be together anymore. We're breaking up. That's a hard conversation to have, and nobody ever wants to be the person to dump someone, nor does anybody ever want to get dumped. But if we stayed in these relationships that aren't serving us, then we're hurting ourselves and the other person even more than just taking a deep breath and saying what needs to be said. Even further, sometimes things happen in our lives or to the people around us that are absolutely wrong. And we know that they're wrong. Things like sexual harassment and assault, things like racial discrimination, things like sexist, misogynistic jokes. We know that they're not right. But we're like, oh, it's all in good nature, or, oh, I don't know the situation, I don't want to judge it and step in, when really what we have to do is advocate for ourselves, for other people who might be still exploring what it means to advocate for themselves. But by advocating for them, we're also advocating by ourselves, saying, I personally won't stand to watch the people I love be treated this way. And we don't want to do it in a controlling way. We don't want to get all up in people's business and make them feel like, will you just lay off? But we want to show people that we care. And we want to do it in a clear way. And it takes practice. I'm freaking still working on it a lot. But it's something to really think about. Sometimes advocating for yourself can even go so far as contacting the police when somebody does something wrong to you, even if you cared about them at one point in your life. Or we go to counselors to seek help for ourselves and others. We go to rehab facilities to advocate for ourselves and what we need, and to help other people learn to do that too. Notice I say we, because by listening to this video, you've sort of already committed yourself to thinking about the world a little bit more consciously. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment, but it's a good thing. And so, as a collective consciousness, you want to put an end to being a doormat. I've told some very close friends of mine, when they were going through breakups or needed to address situations that were really difficult, I said, okay, so this is going to cause some pain temporarily, probably. It will, and nobody wants that. But think about how much pain could potentially happen in the long run if we stay quiet. What's the trade-off? Are you willing to take a deep breath and rip it off like a Band-Aid to save endless nights of agonizing? I mean, that's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean? It's worth it. Being clear and honest and powerful in our statements can truly change the world. Where in your life could you use a little bit more self-advocacy? See if you can figure out what it is you need to say and take a deep breath and say it. You could really change your life, other people's lives, and the collective attitude in the world about speaking up when things are wrong. Thanks. See you next time.